Like this. Hi students, good evening. Welcome to another interesting session on 2026 A-level rapid revision economics. Okay. So in the last class we have finished the unit 6. Okay. So on that the entire grade 12 syllabus is done. Okay. So today we are moving forwards to the grade 13 syllabus. Okay. So we'll start from the unit number 7. Okay. So exactly less than 2 months to the exam. Okay. So yes, we start with the unit number 7. Okay. So there are few more updates I want to give. Okay. So I will give that updates during the class. Okay. So yes, unit number 7. In a simple terms, we can say this unit number 7 as money and banking. Money and banking. Okay. So let's start. Let's start. Okay. So page number 2, 7.1. Okay. So what is meant by this money? Hmm. Money is anything that is generally accepted as a means of payment in the exchange of goods and services. Okay. So money is what generally accepted as the means of payment in the exchange of goods and services. So just imagine money. Okay, money. So imagine this is a currency. Okay, uh, it comes like this, right? 5,000, 5,000 rupees currency. Okay, imagine this 5,000 rupees as a currency. Okay, so you are going to shop. You are going to shop. Okay, so you are going to a clothing shop. You are going to a clothing shop. Okay, and there you are buying a dress, a t-shirt. You are going to shop and you are going to buy a t-shirt. Okay, for that you pay money. Okay, you pay money and the shop gives you the t-shirt. Okay, so what is meant by the money? It's a medium of exchange, the payment of the exchange of goods and services. Okay, so which is known as money. Okay? Simple as that. Okay, so money is generally known as medium of exchange of goods and services. Simple as that. Okay, so characteristics of good money. Okay, so in a simple terms I can say imagine the characteristics of this 5,000. Imagine that generally acceptance. Okay, even whoever gives the 5,000, okay, with a free or a loan or something, okay, whatever the matter, you will accept it, right? So that money, the 5,000 rupees can be generally accepted. It's accepted by everyone. Okay. Durability, yes. The money can be kept in the pocket the whatever the time you want. Okay. So there is no expiry date for the money. Okay. Uniformity. Okay. So uniformity means it's same for everyone. Imagine this 5,000 rupees is yellow color for me. Even for you, it's yellow color. For everyone, so every Sri Lankan citizen, the 5,000 rupees is yellow color. Uniformity. Divisibility. Divisibility means it can be divided, which means if you go to a petty kade or sillara kade, okay, you give 5,000 rupees, you told, ஐயப்போட மாறு කරලා දෙන්න. Okay, அண்ணா கொஞ்சம் இதை மாத்தி தாங்க. Okay, so he might divide that money into like 5,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees notes, or 10 500 rupees notes, whatever the way he can. Okay, and portability, easy to carry. You can fold it, keep it in your pocket, you can carry it down. Stability of value, yes. The 5,000 rupees have a purchasing power, stability of value. Okay, legal validity, yes. This 5,000 rupees can be used anywhere. Fake notes can't be used. Okay, this is not a fake note. I'm talking about the real note. Okay, the real note have a legal validity. Difficult to counterfeit, yes. So creating a fake note, it's not an easy thing. Okay, you have to get the proper note and the signature and there are a lot of things. Okay, when you're doing the proper fake note, but even though you make a proper fake note, it can be identified. Okay, so yes, difficult to counterfeit and easy to identification. Yes, even a small baby can easily identify this is a 5,000 rupees note. Okay, easily identifiable. So that is money and the characteristics of money. Okay, so if you want to remember the characteristics of money, what you have to do today onwards, what you have to do, just remember the 5,000 rupees. So remember how you can use the 5,000 rupees and that's it. You will end up in a good answers. Okay. Okay. Four main functions of the money. First one, medium of exchange. Store value. Unit of an account. Standard of payment. Let's say standard of payment. The functions of money. Okay. So let's assume same as the 5,000 rupees. You have 5,000 rupees in your hand. Okay. 5,000 rupees. What you can do by using this 5,000 rupees, medium of exchange. Like I said here, you can buy the goods and services by using this 5,000 rupees, medium of exchange. The store value, you can store this 5,000 rupees in bank. You can create a bank account, you can store it. First one, you can buy a cloth. Okay, you can buy a cloth. Medium of exchange. Store value, you can store it in a bank. Okay, so It's a unit of an account. Unit of an account is it can easily identify. Unit of an account, what the dude says for the unit of an account, provide a common measure to compare the value of goods and services and asset. It can be easily identified and can be compared. Okay, so for a simple terms, we can say the unit of an account. So what the example I can give for the unit of an account? Okay, so the price of this dress, same example. The price of this dress is 4,500 rupees. Okay, unit of an account. Okay, you can buy clothes. You can easily tell, yes, this is the value of this dress. Unit of an account. Standard of payment. Okay, which means you can pay loans or debts. The functions of this exact 5,000 rupees. Again, I'm telling, okay, medium of exchange, you can buy clothes. First, store value. Store value means you can give a value to a unit. Okay, so sorry, that's the unit of an account. You can give a value for a unit of an account. Store value, you can deposit in the bank, and standard of payment, you can pay the loans. Again, medium of exchange, you can buy clothes. Store value, you can deposit in a bank. Unit of an account, you can put a value. You can put a value for a dress or a unit for a good and services. Standard and deferred payment, you can pay loans. Okay, so I'm not telling to memorize. I'm not telling to memorize the characteristics and the functions or the whatever the thing. Just have this mind map. Just generate things with the real world example. That is very much easier when you're doing the exams. Okay, after that, why do we need money? Okay, so simple terms. Okay, so in earlier there was a barter system. Barter system means goods for goods. Okay, you give a good, I give you another good. Okay, so in order to tackle that, the money is created. Okay, simple as that. And types of a money, so it's a very much important question. Types of money. First one, currency. Second, bank money. Third one, near money. Fourth one, money substitutes. Money subs, we can say. Fifth one, digital money. Okay, in a simple example, we can say currency as well as okay, the coins, okay, the coins, 10 rupee coin, and the cash, the cash is known as currency. So, what is meant by this bank money? Checks. Simple as that. Checks is known as bank money. The near money. What is meant by this near money? Fixed deposit, treasury bills, and promissory notes. So fixed deposits. and treasury bills. In simple terms, we can say the fixed deposits means uh, there are three types of bank account: savings account, fixed account, and current account. Current account means there will be no interest rate given. Okay, so that is bank money. Okay, the savings account, you put money and you can withdraw the money from the cash. But in the fixed account, you cannot withdraw the amount in a certain time period. Okay, after the certain time period, you can withdraw the amount. Okay, money substitutes. Money substitutes. Simple as that. Debit and credit card. The cards, the debit and credit cards. It's known as money substitute. What is digital money? I think this is the symbol, I guess. Bitcoins. Bitcoins are known as digital money. Simple as that. Okay. So, yes, that is the pretty much of the money and banking. Okay. So, I will give some time. Please draw this mind maps. Okay. So, what is the easiest trick was rather than studying the notes one by one, rather than reading the paragraphs one by one, if you can draw these, like draw these mind maps, okay, you can easily identify what the elements are there. Okay, so I will give you 2 minutes, just note it down. Next, we'll move to the money demand. Money demand. Okay. So, why you need money? Okay. So, why you need money? That is money demand. So, they say the preference of people hold the money in the form of money itself. Okay. At a given time is known as money demand. Okay. So, which means rather than putting the money into somewhere else, which means rather than depositing the money in the savings account, okay, rather than investing, rather than buying some goods and services, you kept your money, okay, at your wallet. That is what we call money demand. Okay, there are three main reasons why you need money demand. The first reason is, okay, for transactionary motive. Second one, precautionary motive. Third one, speculative motive. Okay, so I will explain one by one. What is meant by this transactionary motive? Okay, in a simple terms, we can say you kept your money as a money in your wallet in order to do the transactions. Transactions, which means to buy goods and services. To buy goods and services. So they say, in the truth, they say, since there is a gap between the person income received and the expenditure to make the holdings of a money balance for a day-to-day transactions is called as money demand for transactional motive. So, but in the simple terms, we can say you hold your money as some money in order to do the transaction, in order to buy day-to-day goods and services. Okay, so simple as that. So, what is meant by this precautionary motive? Holding money to meet unexpected events. Okay, so most of the Sri Lankans do this precautionary motive. Okay, so boys, in your wallet, they hide some money inside the wallet. Okay, so wallet එක ඇතුලේ පොඩි pocket එකක් තියෙනවා. pocket එක ඇතුලේ රුපියල් 1000 2000 කරි දාලා තියෙනවා boys. Okay, but sometimes the moms, okay, so அம்மாமார் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, கிடைக்கிற காசை ஒரு ஜாருக்குள்ள, சரி, ஏதாவது ஒரு குசினியில இருக்கக்குள்ள, கிச்சன்ல இருக்க ஏதாவது ஒரு டப்புக்குள்ள காசு போட்டு வச்சிருப்பாங்க. why why because they expect, okay, in the future there might be some bad events might occur, so for emergency in situations I can use that money. Okay, so for emergency situations you kept money as money, which is known as precautionary motive. And for the speculative motive, holding money as an asset to take advantage of the future investment opportunities. Future investment opportunity. So, see what they say, negative relationship, interest rate and speculative demand. Okay, interest rates and bond prices. Okay, when the interest rate rise, okay, in the page number 7 you can see, when the interest rates rise, bond prices falls, people sell bonds. Okay, hold more cash. No, people hold less than cash. Okay, when interest rate falls, bond prices rise. Okay, so people expect to them to fall, so sell the bonds and hold more cash. Okay, So, which means in a simple terms, I can say, so this is a relationship between interest rate and bond price. Interest rate means bank interest rate. Okay. So imagine there are two investment opportunities the people can make. First one, they can invest the money through the bank fixed account, or else they can invest the money through the treasury bonds and treasury bills. Okay. So imagine if the interest rate increase, if the interest rate increase, what the people actually does, okay, they sell the bonds, okay, they sell the bonds and the money demand will decrease because they sell the bond, they convert into cash and they deposit into bank. Okay, so people don't keep the money. People don't keep the money. They might invest into the fixed account bank. Okay, simple as that. When the bank interest rate rise, people sell their bonds, okay, and convert into cash, and they might invest those money into bank. So the money demand will be decreased. They don't keep the money as in cash. Okay, imagine bank interest rate, okay, and bond. Imagine the bank interest rate decreases, okay. What they actually does, okay, they buys the bond, okay, they buys the bond and take the cash, and money demand will be increase, okay. So money demand will be increased. So they expect the interest rate needs to be high. After the interest rate got high, they will invest the money. Okay, so the relationship between the interest rate and the money demand is negative. Okay, when the interest rate increases, money demand decreases. When the interest rate decreases, money demand increases. Simple as that. Okay. Okay, so that's the pretty much of this transactionary motive and the precautionary motive and the speculative motive. Okay, the definitions are done. After that, we can draw the graphs. Okay, for the transactionary motive, this is the money demand and this is income. Okay, it's a positive relationship, which means if your income rises, you will spend more money to the goods and services. Okay, again, this is money demand, this is your income. Okay, so money demand curve is again positive, positive. Okay, which means if your income rises, you will keep more money for the emergencies. Okay, as we know, this is an inverse relationship graph. This is an inverse relationship graph. We can say here interest rate. Okay, we can say here speculative motive. Okay, there is a negative relationship between the interest rate and the money demand. Okay, so this is the negative relationship. Imagine when this is the R1, this is MD1. Okay, when the R2 interest decreases, money demand increases. See, if the interest rate decrease, money demand will increase. Okay, so these three will be the graphs. Okay, so I will give you some times. Okay, so please have a note on it. After that, we can move to another interesting section. Okay, next we'll move to the money supply. So, what is meant by this money supply? Okay, in simple terms, I can say the money held by the people, which is known as money supply. Okay, so imagine in my purse, I own around 5,000 rupees. Okay, so at your purse, you have 2,000 rupees. Okay, so likewise, everyone's purse, not the bank, okay, not the bank, in the wallet. Okay, so everyone's purse, they have money, right? The currencies. Okay, so the currencies people do have, okay, so the currencies which circulates among the people, which is known as money supply. Okay, so that's what the definition says. The total stock of money circulating among the general public at a given period of time is called as money supply. Simple as that. Okay, so there are four types of money supply there. Okay, so first one is M1, narrow money supply. M2, broad money supply. M2B, consolidated money supply. M4, very broad money supply. Narrow money supply, broad money supply, consolidated money supply, very broad money supply. Okay, so what is this narrow money supply? Okay, so narrow money supply, which is equals to public money, okay, and demand deposits means savings accounts, demand deposits at commercial banks. The money you hold in the wallet, and the demand deposits, which means the savings account money, which is known as narrow money supply. Okay, let's spend by this broad money supply. Narrow money supply M1 plus, okay, the saving accounts. Okay, demand deposits means current account. Demand deposits means current account. The public money and the current account, which is known as narrow money supply. Broad money supply is M1, narrow money supply plus savings account, which is known as broad money supply. Okay, so what is this M2B? M2 plus M2 plus 50 percentage of time or savings of NRNFC and savings account at FCUB, which means 50 percentage of savings at NRFC account and savings at FCBU. Okay, so 50 percentage of savings account at NRNFC, which what is meant by this NRNFC? Non-resident financial currency. Non-resident financial currency is known as NRNFC. Okay, non-resident financial currency is known as NRFC. What is known as this FCBU? FCBU is known as foreign currency banking units. Foreign currency banking units. Okay, the 50 percentage of NRFC and savings at foreign currency banking units. Okay, 50 percentage of NRNFC and savings of FCBU, which is known as broad money supply. Sorry, consolidated money supply. Okay, after that, what is this M4? M2B plus M2B plus, okay, uh, LSB we say and RFC. Okay, in a simple terms, LSB and RFC. Deposits at specialized bank, deposits at licensed specialized bank, and registered finance companies. Okay, I know you might get confused on that. Okay, so I will explain. I will explain again. Narrow money supplies. Okay, so altogether these four, this is money supply. Money supply can be categorized into four types. Okay, money supply can be categorized into four types: M1, M2, M2B, M4. Okay, M1 means narrow money supply. Narrow money supply means, uh, imagine there are four stages. Imagine there are four stages. So this is M1, narrow money supply, a small portion of money supply. Okay, public money. Okay, the money you have in the wallet and the money in the current accounts, demand deposits or the current account. That is M1. After that, including M1, the M2. Okay, M1 plus savings account in the commercial banks, the savings account. Okay, the savings accounts. Okay, all the people in the country, even you, me, and everyone have the savings account in the commercial banks. Okay, so the savings account in the commercial banks, which is known as M2. If you know what is no, if you don't know what is meant by these commercial banks, I will explain that in the future units. Okay, so in the future, I think even this unit in the future, you might get what is meant by these commercial banks and things. Okay, so simple as that. Commercial banks. M2B. This is M2B. Okay, consolidated money supply. M2 plus 50 percentage of this NRFC. 50 percentage. So if you don't know the savings account, don't worry. 50 percentage of NRNFC, non-resident foreign currency. Okay, and savings at FCUB. Okay, foreign currency banking unit. Okay, or else sometimes we can say RDFCBU. Okay, resident foreign currency banking unit. Okay, whatever the word we use. Okay, after that, M4, which means including the M2B, okay, the savings account of licensed specialized banks and accounts of registered finance companies. You might not get what is meant by this licensed specialized bank, licensed foreign companies, and these commercial banks. Okay, so those things will be discussed further. Okay, so just for the time being, these are the categories of money supply. Just remember these as this. Okay, so I will explain what is this banks and what is this stuff in the later units. Okay, so don't worry, just for the time being, be with me. Okay, simple as that. After that, we can move to this base money or high powered money. What is this base money or high powered money? Okay, in a simple terms, we can say H, high powered money. Okay, the truth says the direct financial liabilities that supply the basis of aggregate money supply of a country. Okay, the direct financial liabilities that supplies the basis of aggregate supply, which means imagine 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 this big circle as money supply. Imagine this big circle as money supply. Okay, so this H is the base money. This is the basic of the money supply. Okay, so for a big tree, okay, for a big tree, there is a root, right, like this. Root for the big tree. Okay, so likewise for the money supply, this is the base. லொக்கு கஹாகட்ட ஒரு பெரிய மரத்துக்கு have root ne. So likewise for the big money supply, we have a small base that is known as base money. Okay, so there are components of base money. Okay, the components of base money are notes, public money, and the currency is held at commercial bank. Okay, and where I was, yes, the currency is held at commercial bank. Deposits of the commercial bank at central bank. Okay, depositors of other government institution at central bank. Those things will be discussed further. Okay, so you don't have to worry that. Just for the time being, please remember what is meant by this board money or base money. That is very much enough. Okay. After that, money multiplier. Okay. What is meant by this money multiplier? Okay. We have discussed the tax multiplier, government expenditure multiplier. So actually what the multiplier does is the multiplier give the actual value how the money supply changed. Okay. So imagine in the unit 6 we have discussed the government expenditure multiplier. Okay, so what is the government expenditure multiplier says the amount expenditure change that result to the macro equilibrium change. Okay, so likewise there is a money multiplier which is known as K. Okay, so the money supply M is equals to money multiplier multiplied by base money. Okay, so this is the base. If the base is multiplied by money multiplier, we can easily get the money supply. Because why this money multiplier is helpful? Because we can't go by everyone to everyone. Okay, we can in a simple terms we can say හැමෝම නම් ගිහිල්ලා අතේ ඉන්නේ සල්ලි කොච්චරද බැංක් එකේ තියෙන සල්ලි කොච්චරද එහෙම කියලා අපිට ආගෙන කලෙක්ට් කරගෙන ඉන්න බෑනේ නම්බර්ස් කලෙක්ට් කරගෙන ඉන්න බෑනේ ஓகே சோ எல்லார்கிட்டயும் போயிட்டு நாங்க உங்ககிட்ட எவ்வளவு காசு இருக்கு பேங்க்ல எவ்வளவு காசு இருக்கு it's not possible right by calculating go by every person and searching and calculating everyone to calculate the money supply it's not possible it's very difficult right so that's why the money multiplier came we can calculate the money multiplier. After that, if the money multiplier multiplied by base money, we can easily conclude with the money supply. Okay, so yes, the equation for the money multiplier is simple as that. Equation for the money multiplier, okay, subject this. If you subject this, what will happen? Money supply divided by high powered money. This is the equation for money multiplier. Okay, simple as that. After that, we can come to the determinants of money supply. Okay, what are the reasons of this money supply? Okay, I will explain one by one. This will be very much useful to these notes. Okay, net domestic borrowings from the banking system. Okay, so which means the loans we borrow from the banks. The loans we borrow from the banks, which is known as net domestic borrowings from the banking system. Okay, yes. Net foreign assets of banking system, which means the bank can invest money not in the Sri Lanka. Okay, so I'll explain. Okay, foreign assets. In a simple terms, foreign assets. What is actually meant by these foreign assets? This is Sri Lanka. Imagine this is Sri Lanka. Okay, so imagine this is world. Okay, so near to the Sri Lanka, this is India. Yes, yeah, this is the world. Okay, so Sri Lankan banks and commercial bank. Sri Lankan banks and commercial banks can deposit the money in other countries. Okay, can deposit the money in the other country. It's possible. You can have the banks can have the deposited in the other countries. Likewise, you might heard the Swiss bank, like, so they can have deposits. So they have deposits in the other countries, or else they can give loans to the other countries. Loans to the other countries. Okay, deposits and loans. This is simply known as foreign assets. Foreign assets. Loans and deposits. Simple as that. Okay. Other net assets of the banking system, other net assets means they can invest the money into the treasury bills, they can give the money, or they might invest the money in Sri Lankan domestic companies. Okay. When government borrows from the central bank or the commercial bank, money supply increases. Yes. When the government borrows from the central bank of the money supply, central bank or the commercial banks, money supply increases because why? When the government borrows money from the central bank or the commercial bank, whatever the bank, the government borrows the money and spend it to the people. Okay. So government borrows the money and gives salaries to the people, expense to the people. So the people can have more money. Okay, so the money supply increases. When the commercial bank lend to the private sector, okay, when even the commercial bank gives money to the people can have more money, the money supply increases. So the last two is some bit of a notes. Okay, and next, net foreign assets of the central bank as follows. The foreign assets. Foreign currency held by the bank, the dollars. Okay, investments the central bank made by at the securities of other countries, which means deposits or investments. Special drawing rights maintained by the name of the central banks, which means they can get more loans. Okay, the drawing rights. Other countries borrowings from the central banks, which means Central bank can give loans to other countries. Deposits of international institutions and the foreign bank with the central bank. Yes, again deposits. Okay, so deposits, loans, and investments. Simple as that. In the foreign countries, which is known as foreign assets. Okay, so the main assets and liabilities, the main assets and liabilities of the central bank. Yes. What are the main assets? Loans to the government, loans to the commercial bank. Okay, so central bank can give the loans to the government, also the go loans to the commercial banks. Okay, so I'm not talking about that commercial bank, that blue color icon bank. No, I'm not talking about that commercial bank. This is licensed commercial banks. Okay, I will explain what is meant by this licensed commercial banks in the future. Okay, liabilities, public currency, the money of public. Okay, currency with commercial bank, depositors of commercial bank, deposits of other institution, deposits of government, foreign loans, and other liabilities, which are known as liabilities. Okay, so simple as that. Okay, I think it might get a bit confusing with the notes, but the simple terms, remember the foreign assets. So this is the concept of foreign assets and the money multiplier and the types of money. Please be with me. When we are doing the calculations, it will be easier to understand the concept of this money supply and the money multiplier. You might get confused because you don't know the terms of what is meant by this commercial bank or what is meant by this specialized banks of foreign currencies or the finance companies. Okay, so if we do some calculations and the questions, you might get a better understanding what is meant by this and what is meant by that. Okay, so just for the time being, just get the theoretical knowledge. After that, we can move to the questions. Okay, so yes, when we are doing the past paper questions, we can discuss that further. Okay, so yes, that's a bit. I can give some time. Please have a note on it. After that, we can move to the general price level and the inflation and things. So I know I am a bit speeding up today. Okay, because the exam is very much closer now. Okay, when wet we have 6 more units to cover. Okay, so I need to be a bit speed up. Okay, because we have to cover the syllabus as well as we have to do some past papers also. Okay, so please be with me, there are a lot of things to do. Okay, so that's why I'm a bit speeding up. You have the recordings as well as you can post the live classes also. Okay, so if you didn't get anything, okay, if you still a bit confused, you can rewatch the recording. Okay, I know you might get confused with this lesson. Most of the students might get confused with this lesson. If you get confused, don't worry, rewatch the recording. Rewatch the recording again, you can get a bit clear. Okay, yes, rewatch the recording, do the questions in the tute, you might get a better understanding. Okay, so yes, I will give you some time. Uh, Please have a note on it. After that, we can move to the 7.4. Okay, the key concepts. Absolute price, relative price, general price level, inflation, deflation, disinflation. Okay, so actually, what is meant by this absolute price? The market price of a particular goods and services, which means we can say 1 kilo rice is 100 rupees. Absolute price. Okay. Relative price means comparing prices. Okay. The ratio between two prices. Okay. So 1 kilo rice is 100 rupees. Okay. So 1 pen is 25 rupees. Okay. So which means there is a ratio. Okay. So what can say 4 to 1? Okay, so which means we need 4 pens to buy 1 kilo rice. We need 4 pens to buy 1 kilo rice. The relative price. Okay, comparing the prices to other prices. General price level, the average of all absolute prices. Okay, which means all prices. The general price level, which means the average of all prices, the total of all prices. Inflation, okay, it's very good concept and very important concept. Inflation, put a star on inflation, the continuous rise in price levels. Okay, the general price level, this general price is increasing. Inflation. Deflation, the general price is decreasing. Continuous fall in the general price level is deflation. Sri Lanka is always facing the inflation, not deflation. Okay, inflation. Disinflation, the gradual decrease in the inflation rate, the prices still rises, which means it's a mix of inflation and deflation. Okay, so imagine at 2020 our inflation rate is 8%. Okay, and 2021, okay, imagine our inflation rate is 9%. Okay, at 2022, imagine our inflation rate is 10%. At 2023, again it becomes 6%. Still it's an inflation. At 2024, it becomes 3%. At 2025, it becomes 1%. At 2026, it becomes minus 2%. At 2027, imagine it 2027, it becomes minus 3%. Okay, imagine this is as an example. Okay, the area, the year 2020 to 2022, see the inflation, the price is rising. So this is inflation. Okay, the percentage is rising. Okay, imagine 2025 to 2027, the time period between the 2025 to 2027 is deflation. Our price is falling, which means the area, the percentage, if the inflation rate, if the inflation rate is goes to minus, that is deflation. If the inflation rate goes to minus, that is deflation. The area of this, the time period of this, is disinflation, which means still it is an inflation, still it is a plus value, but it's reducing. Still it's an inflation, but it's reducing. 10% in 2022, in 2023 it's 6%, at 2024 it's 3%. Still it's an inflation, but it's decreasing. Disinflation. Okay. So yes, that's the pretty much of inflation, deflation, and disinflation. Okay, and there are two theories of inflation. There are two theories of inflation. Okay, there are two theories of inflation. First one is demand pull theory. Second one, cost push theory. We can again divide the demand pull theory into two. First one is quantity of demand. We can say uh, quantity theory of money. Yes, we can say Fisher theory and Keynesian theory. Okay. So first we look at what is this Fisher says. What is this Fisher says? Okay. The page number 12 you can see. Quantity theory of money is a theory that presents the behavior of price levels based on equation of exchange. Quantity theory of money states that there is a direct relationship exists between the change in the price level and change in the stock of money, which means MV equals PT, money supply, okay, velocity of circulation, which means money supply, the money circulation, price level, and transactions. Okay, money supply and circulation, velocity of circulation, price level, and transaction. The Fisher says there's a direct relationship between the price level and the stock of money, which means money supply. The direct relationship between the price level and the money supply, which is known as MV equals PT. Okay, so there are questions MV equals PT. Okay, so when we are doing the MV equals PT questions, we can easily go through what is this. Okay, and there's an assumption. Okay, when the V is constant, V is the when the velocity of circulation is constant determined by the spending habits, which means transactions. Okay, when the T is constant, economy is in full employment. Conclusion, any increase in the M leads to proportionate in the P. So simple we can say, if the M increase, the P increase. If the M decrease and P decrease, it's remain constant. Those things remains constant. So velocity and transactions do not change. It remains constant. Okay. If the P increase, M increase. If the M decrease, P decrease. Simple as that. Okay. Second one, the Keynesian theory. Okay. What is meant by this Keynesian theory? When aggregate demand rises beyond the full employment, okay, which means beyond the output, supply cannot increase further, so price level rises, which means in a simple terms I can say output is less but demand is high. Okay, which means lot of money chasing into small goods. In a real world scenario, for an example, I can say in 2022 there are huge petrol pollins, gas pollins, and kiripiti pollins, milk powder pollins, and lot of pollins are there. Why is that? Because the amount available, the petrol, the amount of gas is very much low, but lot of people are demanding it. Okay, so those scenarios are Keynesian theory, demand pull theory, which means demand pulling the inflation. Okay, demand pulling the inflation. So we can show it in a graph like this. Okay, so price level and output. Okay, so in here the supply remains constant. The supply remains constant. Okay, but the demand, okay, the aggregate supply remains constant, but aggregate demand it increasing. See, the price is increasing. Okay, the price is increasing. So this is the graph of Keynesian theory. Okay, so after that we'll move to cost push inflation. Cost push inflation so occurs when the production cost increases. When the production cost increases, which means even so in the 2022 the output is low, the demand is high. Now in the 2026, okay, what is happening is there is output, but the cost of the petrol is increasing due to Iran war. Okay, due to Iran war, the cost of the petrol is increasing, so the price is increasing of the petrol. So we can show that in this graph, the cost push inflation, which means cost of production increase, price increase, cost push inflation. This is the graph of cost push inflation. Okay, so this is price, this is output. Okay, the aggregate demand doesn't change. Demand doesn't change, but the cost is increasing. So if the cost is increasing, what will eventually happen? If the supply curve shifts to leftwards or rightwards, it shifts to the leftwards. The in the unit 2 we have studied that. Okay, so due to the increase in aggregate supply, okay, the price increase. Okay, simple as that. Okay, and after that there is a effects of inflation, which is very much simple. Okay, so yes, please note it down. Please note down the notes. I will give you 5 minutes. After that, we can move to the real income and the nominal income and the price indexes of Sri Lanka. Yes. Okay, so let's talk what is this real interest rate and nominal interest rate. So actually, what is this nominal interest rate first? The state the percentage rate which you see on a bank loan or a fixed deposits. Okay. So for an example, we can say on a fixed deposit on a FD, they say 5% per annum. So this 5% is your nominal interest rate. Simple as that. So what is this real interest rate? The actual increase in your purchasing power after accounting the inflation, which means imagine at 2022, so that is on 2022, the inflation rate of 2022 is 3%. So actually the real interest rate is nominal interest rate 5%, 3% inflation, 2% is the real interest rate. Okay. From the nominal interest rate, after you adjust the inflation, you will get the real interest rate. Simple as that. The equation is given there. So what is meant by this nominal income and real income? Nominal income and real income. What is meant by this nominal income? The actual dollar or rupee printed on your payslip, which means we can say your salary of May is 50,000 rupees. This is your nominal income, your salary of a month. Okay, so what is meant by this real income? The volume of goods and services that the nominal income can buy, which means the nominal income divided by price index. Price index means the unit of goods you can buy at a specific price. Okay, so that is meant by this price index. Okay, so imagine for 10 rupees 10 rupees you can buy two toffee. Okay, so the price index for the 10 rupees, price index for the one toffee is 5 rupees. Okay, so this is price index. Okay, so in the nominal income, after you adjust the price index, basically the price index means the inflation. Simple as that. Basically the price index means the inflation. Okay, so from the nominal index, so the nominal income, after you adjust the price index, you will get the real income, which means on your income how much of goods and services you can buy. Imagine your income is 50,000, okay, but you have to spend 10,000 for rent. Okay, so after you adjust your price index on the rent, you will get the real income. Okay, so this is the basic stuff of real interest rate, nominal interest rate, and the real income and the nominal income. Okay, So those things will be crystal clear when we are doing the calculation. Okay, so don't worry about that. Also, the duty itself has some questions. Okay, so if you want, you can go through and do the questions as well. Okay, so after that, we can move to the controlling the inflation. Okay, so controlling the inflation part, you don't have to worry about that. The cost push inflation and the but not the cost push, that the more expansionary monetary policy and the expansionary fiscal policy will be discussed in the unit 8, so you don't have to worry about that. Those things will be discussed in the unit 8. Okay, and the price index of Sri Lanka. Okay, the inflation rates of Sri Lanka. Colombo Consumer Price Index. Okay, the price index for the Colombo people. Okay, the people in the Colombo, because the people in the Colombo have the higher inflation rates. Okay, so for an example, in the Colombo, in the people in the Colombo, whatever the amount you earn, it's not enough. Okay, because the goods and services, the prices of the foods are high in the Colombo area compared to the other areas. The rents, the services, even if you want to cut your hair, the prices of a salon is very much high. Okay, so Colombo Consumer Price Index is mainly focusing the Colombo area, and the National Consumer Price Index, the inflation rate of the whole country, and the producers price index, which means the inflation rate of the producers, and the GDP deflator, which means the inflation rate of the gross domestic product. Okay, so those things can be readable and understandable on your own. Okay, because we have to spend more time on the money creation and the banking with the high power money calculation and the past papers. Okay, so what I what we thought was, rather than focusing only on the theoretical aspect, we have to do more and more questions in order to understand the basic stuff of economics. Okay, so yes, after that we can move to the Sri Lanka's financial system 7.5, 7.6, 7.7. We can finish those three chapters in the next session. Okay, so yes, so since we have a limited time before the exam starts, okay, and we are hoping to finish your whole syllabus at least the first week, or the, in the worst case scenario, the second week of the month of July. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to finish one unit in 1 week. One unit in 1 week. 1 week means two classes. Okay, so today we have finished 7.1 to 7.4. 7.5, 6, 7 are there in order to finish the next class. Okay, so if I can finish the classes before the second week of the July, okay, before the first week or the second week of the July, the rest of the 2 weeks, in the rest of the 2 weeks, we can do more paper discussions. Okay, so it might very much helpful to you, the exam sitting batch. Okay, so that's why we thought of completing the syllabus as soon as possible. So that's why I'm very speeding up in the classes. Okay, so don't get confused on that. Okay, so that's the pretty much of it. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed the session. I know there are a lot of confusion in this session, in this unit. Okay, so please rewatch the recordings. Okay, that's the my honest request. Okay, so we'll see you in the next class. Thank you.